when I do coaching and I ask them to just increase their volume by 20%, nothing else, just 20%, just go 20%. They immediately appear more confident. And when I ask them, did you feel more confident? They say, yes, that was weird. And just by removing that stress, all of these neurosubstances come to life again. It's insane, you know, like we've created a society which is just toxic. And that means that your brain is prioritizing cortisol, making you move, making you try to avoid the stress, try to get you to either flee or fight the stress. So that's its priority. Its priority is to survive. When we don't feel confident, then we obviously feel uncertain. And when we feel uncertain, we tend to speak with a lower volume, kind of hiding in a corner. That's
Nobody knows, man.
Nobody knows, and every single time you hear that, absolute blatant lie. And because they say this, people literally can believe that it would take 21 days. So imagine somebody believes that it takes 21 days. They go into this thing, they change a habit, and they're like, all right, 21 days countdown. Didn't work. All right, fuck it. I'll do something else, I'll start smoking again. Imagine how many lives they've destroyed by giving them the promise that this is done in 21 days, which is a classical advice. So yeah, what I'm saying here is this: when it comes to confidence, lean forwards, or take a step forwards. Increase that volume, chest out, chin up.
All right, today we got a heavyweight in the house. This guy's been on the TEDx stage more times than most people have been to the gym. He's the man behind How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint and the Magical Science of Storytelling, where he literally breaks down the chemistry of why great stories hit us so damn deep. But here's the twist. Behind the success, the millions of views, and the standing ovations, David JP Phillips spent 17 years battling depression until he decided to hack his own brain. He studied human chemistry like a mad scientist and figured out how to rewire his emotions from the inside out. Today, he teaches people all over the world how to master their mind, control their energy, and live high on life without needing anything external to feel alive. We're talking storytelling, emotion science, and the real mechanics of happiness. So, David, I'm so pumped to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here, Morgan. Great pre-chat and love the description. We're coming in hot on self-leadership. I love it. Yeah, I'm happy to inspire, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to go straight to it. How did you manage or succeed to be depressed for 17 years? Because I've listened to previous podcasts and hearing you being depressed for so long and not even being aware of it, that feels for me a bit weird, but I can also understand it from other aspects of my own life, but not when it comes to depression.
What's the saying, if you put a frog in a pan and you start warming up the water slowly, it won't realize that it's going to die. And it's kind of the same thing with this depression at hand that I was in. I went into it so slowly that I didn't notice I was heading into it. I definitely didn't notice that I was in it. And I think it's the same thing with people, Morgan. I think the thing is, if I go out of this door and I look at the average Joe working in the average company, their life is gray. Most of them, not all of them, but a lot of people's lives are gray. They're like, it's an 8 to 5 thing. And they don't realize it's gray because they don't really have a contrast. They've just accepted fate and state, yeah? So I think I did the same. I think it's the same thing. We just become adjusted to things that we move into slowly.
We have something in common, and I want to touch on it a bit, and that is cold exposure. So when you were saying that people go through this phase of just grayness, I always say that when you start to cold plunge, maybe every day or a couple of times a week, it's like you're going from looking at this gray screen and you go into like full Las Vegas, the sphere mode. with the surround system. And I've started one of the biggest ice plunge communities in Sweden called Sweden Polar Bears. And I've seen the transformation of hundreds of people that have started cold plunging. And it's exactly as you say, that you can see the gray in their eyes and you can just see how the light turns on and a sparks just like blows out from their eyes. And they also get a little bit skinnier. That's an added bonus. So what's your relationship with the cold?
Oh, that's crazy, man. That's brilliant. Love it. And absolutely, those chemicals that are released upon cold exposure, that's some mad science going into that, man. You got noradrenaline spiking, you got dopamine spiking, you got a bit of endorphins, cortisol. Oh my God, it's a cocktail of beautiful chemicals that hit your brain at once when you do a cold exposure. I love cold exposures for the same reason that you just mentioned. My relationship to the cold, except this, is a different kind of a cold exposure, and that is that during January, I always do something called the January T-shirt challenge, which in Sweden means that you just put on a T-shirt and you wear the T-shirt for the entirety of January. The only exception is if I don't move by myself, which means that if I'm on a snowmobile or if I'm on a pair of skis or a snowboard, then I'm allowed to wear something else. But as long as I'm making the movement, i.e. walking or running, then it's a T-shirt. And what happens then is, well, to put it like this, it's so clear that when I take a walk with my friends, they all put on their jackets and their everything you wear when it's winter, right? And we go on a walk, it's 10 below, and maybe we're out for like 40 minutes and we come back. I'm just wearing a T-shirt. When we come back to the house, they're like, oh my God, I'm so sleepy. I need to take a nap. And that is like a cold bath. I'm so filled with dopamine, noradrenaline, cortisol that I'm jumping around. I've got more energy than ever before. And I make fun out of people when they put on jackets during the winter in Scandinavia, because they're like, I'm gonna go out, darling. Which means they put on a jacket, they walk from their house to the car, and then they sit in the car and they drive for 20 minutes with their winter jacket on. Then they come to a parking spot, they get out of the car and they walk 100 meters maybe to the shopping center, where they stay for another hour with their winter jacket on. And then they do the same. They were only outside for literally, I don't know, 2 minutes. And the rest of the time they were inside. But we have this thing in our head, right? I have to put on a winter jacket so I'm going out. You're not going out. You're just passing to places outside.
At first, it can seem absolutely ludicrous to go around without a jacket when it's January in Sweden, and especially up here in the north where I'm sitting at the moment. And it was a guy that was actually going around with a T-shirt, and he was always sitting at my wife's cafe.
Yeah.
I started talking with him. I was like, how can you walk around with just a T-shirt? And then he started explaining how the body adapts and how the mitochondria works. And he was like really nerdy about the science of the body. So I started testing it, and it just changed my life. So I want to go into your book, and I've been enjoying it a lot. Why did you write the book?
Oh, wow. Why I wrote the book. Well, it came to the conclusion that I was depressed. I hacked my depression. I learned so much when I was doing that I wanted to share it in a book.
If someone's listening and they're feeling depressed, how do they hack depression?
It's a big question. It depends on where the depression comes from. But I think I read somewhere that 40% of all depressions are driven by a negative thought pattern. So the key then is to reduce the negative thought pattern. And the most successful way to do that is definitely meditation and mindfulness. So just that's your go-to straight away. That's what you should begin with.
Could you expand on what you said with where the depression comes from?
So well, what we do agree upon is that it is most likely due to inflammation. the cytokines in your brain are acting up. So if we are super stressed, we cause an inflammation in our brain. And that inflammation, when left untouched, it can lead to depression. If we lose a loved one, it is massive stress. And if we don't handle that in the right way, that stress again leads to inflammation. So I'd say that when I've read about depression overall, it seems like the root cause for the majority of depression is stressful events in life. Either immediate stressful events or like chronic, long-term, low stress. Yeah, like going to a job you don't like, you do it every single day. It's not stressful like in an immediate sense, but it's stressful in a long-term sense. Both are equally as hurtful to the brain. And then the next answer to the question is this, that your brain uses building blocks for all the signaling substances in your brain, right? So the building block for serotonin, for instance, is similar to the building block for cortisol. Serotonin is more connected to mood, and cortisol is more connected to fight and flight. So imagine that you, Morgan, you're constantly stressed, right? That means that your brain is prioritizing cortisol, making you move, making you try to avoid the stress, try to get you to either flee or fight the stress. So that's its priority. Its priority is to survive. So it takes the building block to build cortisol instead of taking the building block to build serotonin. And by so, it doesn't prioritize happiness before stress, because stress is survival. Happiness is just bonus. So, and that then just snowballs, that if you don't get the building blocks for serotonin, for instance, well, then you get too much cortisol. And then you feel less happy. And the more you ruminate on being not happy, that can then lead to more stress, which leads to the depression and so on.
I hear a lot in self-help circles that certain emotions felt on a regular basis becomes addictive. Is there any truth in that?
No, you can just look at people who jump out of a parachute out of a plane, adrenaline junkies is a name to it, yeah?
Yeah.
We become addicted to that. And it's a similar thing with dopamine, right? We look at our phone, we scroll TikToks. It's an addictive sensation to feel that dopamine hit. Adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, we can all feel that sensation of, wow, becoming addicted to it. And to some extent, I guess you can become addicted to oxytocin as well, which is another neuropeptide, where you get oxytocin from hugs, from love, from kisses, from touching, from caressing, from being seen, touched, heard. And when you don't get that anymore, you can almost feel empty. So there's that can be an addiction to that as well.
That's so funny you mention it, because I didn't realize that I was probably, or I still am probably addicted to oxytocin. I love just hugging, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I feel weird if I'm not touching anybody. I need to. So how do I break that?
You shouldn't. That's the most human thing, man. It's the most human thing. We need more of that. There's a couple of studies in my book. Small studies anyway, but showed that people who hug more frequently, they don't get sick as often, and if they do get sick, they get better more quickly. So
that relates to me. Hugs. Everybody hears that. Hugs.
I'm never sick, man, really. Like, I'm sick like every 5th year or something. I love hugging as well.
Have you experienced burnout?
I think so, yeah, in some sense. Not in the sense of where I just collapsed and I was gone for 3 years, which happens to some, but burnout to the extent that I didn't want to do anything. Everything felt pointless. no energy, no motivation.
Is there a protocol to rebound from that, like faster? Because I see so many people, especially in Sweden, hitting that stage of burnout. Is there a better way than what is prescribed? They prescribe you like melatonin medication and antidepressant drugs, and often they prescribe just like rest. Do you have like any other hacks for how to rebound from a severe burnout?
Just basically, you need to allow your brain to rewire, right? And that takes time. But the more kind you are to your brain and the kinder your thoughts are to yourself, well, the better environment you create for obviously getting back to where you were. Yeah, so I'd say that. I haven't seen any studies on it, but the forest generally reduces our stress levels and makes us more conscious and appreciative of life and so on. So I'd probably say that just from a guessing matter, I'd say, take walks in the forest, don't have headphones on, listen to the birds, listen to the wind. Yeah, give your brain every opportunity to relax and connect with reality again.
What does community, friends, social circle, what does it play as a part of your well-being and happiness and reducing stress?
Massively, right? Oxytocin again. Oxytocin is if your friends are kind to you. That is, because
Kind
otherwise
friends are
they just produce cortisol, right? You get rid of the people around you that aren't helping you feel like the person you want to feel like. The people you surround yourself are literally a copy of who you become. So yeah, you should definitely look out for that. But let's say, for instance, in this case, that they are kind. The people around you are kind. They care for you. God, man, there's plenty of studies that show that when you have people around you, you recuperate faster from operations. You recuperate faster from diseases and illnesses. Yeah, and that oxytocin factor of being cared for. Wow. You look at longevity. Again, the same thing. When people have people who care for them around them, they live longer. So yeah, it's a key thing to surround yourself with people who care.
And you also live in Sweden, right?
I do,
At
yeah.
the moment.
About maybe 8 to 9 hours from you, 10 hours.
Yeah, 10 hours from me. And what do you think is like the biggest issue for us Swedes when it comes to creating friendships, communities? Because I hear this a lot from my friends. They want to live more together. They want to build tribes. They want to have maybe eco villages together. But this step
cool.
from wanting it to actually doing it, it seems like it's such a far away dream that will not be realized.
True. Why do you think that is?
My belief is that this is just my take on it. It's just my own observations because I'm half Egyptian. My mother's from Egypt. So we went there every summer. And even though we were staying at our auntie's house, she had maybe like 4 bedrooms, but we all slept in 1 bedroom.
Yeah.
And I never had my own room growing up. I was always with my younger brother, together with my mom or my dad. They were separated, but we were always together with a parent or with my grandmother. We were living with her. And when we were down in Cairo, like I felt the whole community, the neighbors and my aunts and my cousins and the people on the street. It feels like we're just like one big family. People on the bus driving by, just looking outside from the window, and they're just smiling and waving at you. So I've never felt that feeling here in Sweden, where we are just like one big family.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it has to do with how we are getting raised, if it has to do with how we are getting born in the hospitals where we are not getting that closeness. We had that period in Sweden where it was where when the woman had her baby in the hospital, she had to give the baby away to a nurse, and she could only get the baby in every 3 hours to breastfeed her. So maybe that just like damaged the attachment for a whole generation of Swedes. That's just one theory. So I'm just throwing a bunch of theories here.
Could be, my man, could be. Well, this is, like most likely this has happened recently, because if you look back, like 70 years in Sweden, people still live like you describe. Like they lived in one room with a cow, more or less.
With a cow.
Yeah, 70, 80 years ago. Yeah. We did that. We lived like 4 or 5 people in one room, maybe with a cow, no exception to that. And I think at the time we were probably more, like, this is our community, you're over there, we all help each other out and yada yada. And then something somewhere happened during, I don't know, the 40s, 50s, where we just became segregated. And we are now known as being the most segregated country in the world, right? Where it's Christmas time soon in Sweden. I don't know, I've read somewhere there's literally tens and thousands of elderly people sitting at home alone.
Tens of thousands.
Yes, which is just absolutely madly sad. That's just not the way it should be, of course, but due to the society that we've created, that's the way it goes. I don't know how it's in Egypt, but when people get old in Sweden, it's like you're 65, or if you read at LinkedIn today, it's like you're 55, you're gone, man. You're worthless. We don't want you anymore. They find it's truly really hard to find a job around that age. It gets harder and harder, right? And then you hit 65 and they're like, you're done, man. You can play bingo. That's it. You're worthless. That's literally the signaling value that we get when we're 65. But you could go on, with society standards today. I meet 75-year-olds, which are just brilliant. 80-year-olds even. So I think we had society, man.
Society, man.
We messed it up. And we keep messing it up.
Yeah. Do you see a solution for us?
Not really, no. I don't know, maybe AI. The entire, with this one, like this universal income theory, which means that, fast forward into the future, robots will be doing everything. We don't need to work. We can just do what we like, hang out, fish, hunt if we wish, grow stuff, play games. Maybe that's the thing. And then we'll come back to taking care of each other again, because we have the time. Because now we just work, 8 to 5, both of us, just to afford a normal life, right? So maybe that is the future.
Yeah, that future, I can see the utopian picture of it, but I can also see how it goes, like so sideways, totally totalitarian, like taking my freedom away and having these 15-minute cities, and having these social score credits. So I need to behave in a certain way in order to get these points, so I can go and fish and hunt, or maybe fishing and hunting. Like meat is supposed to be bad for you. Yeah, there are so many weird things. We shouldn't be talking about this right now. So,
my God, yeah, I said that last week. I know too much. This society is just impossible to live in when you know too much.
When you know too much.
Yeah, it's literally poison to my mind, it's like wherever I go, I realize I can't eat that, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, I can't go there, I can't sit in this, I can't wear that. It's insane, like we've created a society which is just toxic. And that is, if anything, it is just anxiety, pure anxiety creation. So yeah, it's I don't think you should get too much. I don't think you should think about those options too much, and instead think about the positive outcomes of what we've created in this world, because we are way better off than 100 years ago in every possible way. So we still wouldn't want to change, even if this period of time still isn't awesome.
You make me think of Cypher in The Matrix when he says, he takes a piece of this steak and says, ignorance is a bliss. He knew too much. He knew too much of what the real world actually was.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go back to ignorance.
Yeah. God damn it. Yes, I do. Sometimes I wish that would be the case. You know, I wrote these 2 books on the first one on called The High on Life in English, and it's obviously about mixing your own angels cocktails to maximize life. And then I wrote another one which is called High on Energy, and God, the research I did about this stuff, you know, it's preventing me from writing a 3rd book, because that would mean I'd need to go into more rabbit holes, which I don't want to learn about, I don't want to know about.
So can we just, if we would end the rabbit hole discussion here, what is the worst rabbit hole you went down to?
Worst rabbit hole. It's probably processed food, man.
Processed foods.
Yeah, and plastics. That stuff. Those 2 things are just mad that we allow them to exist in our society today.
Have you come over in your research that every 10th boy in Denmark has a deformed penis?
Nope, not that one. I thought that way more Danes, I thought. Just one?
No, one in 10. So every 10th boy that gets born has a deformed penis.
Wow. Didn't know that.
So that's plastic.
Yeah, plastic wreaks havoc on our hormones, that's for sure. Definitely. That's been proven over and again. I don't think we need to go into those rabbit holes. It's just like, don't read about plastic and don't read about processed food. Just keep on living, man.
Yeah. Don't eat processed foods and don't... and
it's impossible. I tried. Really, I tried to not eat processed food. It was so taxing. It was so stressful because, it was impossible. You go to the superstore and you're like, I'm going to get myself some carrots, which is not inside a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
Almost impossible.
Yeah. Even if you find them without a plastic bag, they came to the supermarket in a box, which was made out of plastic. Not only that, but there was a grown in soil which had plastic in it, or microplastics. So it's got plastic in it. It's impossible. Let's just not talk about this.
Okay,
you know,
let's move on.
Don't read about plastic. Don't read about processed food. Just go on with your lives. It'll be a happier life.
All right. So you dove down deeper than I have into plastic. So let's move on.
Yeah.
You're like this amazing presenter, speaker. You've done your own research and your own models around like what creates a great speech. And I don't want to ask you something about speaking, more about if some of those skills has transferred for you in a way where you can gain confidence in social situations.
Something that is very clear to me when I coach people is that when we don't feel confident, then we obviously feel uncertain. And when we feel uncertain, we tend to speak with a lower volume, kind of hiding in a corner. That's kind of the visualization we can bring out here. And what's interesting then is when I do coaching and I ask them to just increase their volume by 20%, nothing else, just 20%, just go 20%. They immediately appear more confident. And when I ask them, did you feel more confident? They say, yes, that was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah, so volume. That's one of them. And then, of course, you have other techniques which has a similar effect on you. For instance, I'll give you this story where I was coaching people, about 5 in a row, and they all got like 30 minutes with me each. And I was sitting there, first one came in, went out, first, second one came in, went out, third one comes in, walks in. Oh my God. He looks like a pure Hollywood star, you know. He walks with grace. He shakes my hand. He looks at me, you know. He's got this Hollywood smile, got the voice, everything. I'm like, wow, what a knockout, you know. God damn it. If I were a gay man, this guy is just brilliant. And I'm like, this is a home run. You go up, do your presentation, and toss off. You know, nothing can go wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong, because he goes up, hooks up his computer, blasts his PowerPoint on a screen. Then he walks to the corner, speaks with a low voice, with his chin down, chest deflated, angled towards the PowerPoint, locked hands in front of himself, and he stands with his feet like he needs to go pee, right? I'm like, what on earth happened? You know, like, is this candid camera? Because this isn't possible. How can someone transform from that to that in such a short period of time? And then I said, are you scared of presentations? And he's like, yeah. And he told me the story, and he literally had PTSD from presentations. We talked about it. I gave him some tips and ideas on how to think differently. But most importantly, this is what I did. This time I asked him to stand in the middle of the room, turn his PowerPoint off, chest out, chin up, arms out, take a step towards me, and with a good volume, just say, hey, I'm super happy to be here. I'm happy that you're listening in on this. I got something very important to share. And when he took a step forward, when he opened up his body language, and he had this stance of his body language, almost vibrating of confidence, that feedbacks into the brain that you are confident. So what happened then is that he just became blindingly brilliant in just a matter of 10 minutes. And I showed him the first and the second recording, and he was like, oh my God, I wasn't even aware that I did those things in the first one. No idea I did it, David. He just looked at this. His life literally changed. He had so many promotions coming up after this one, because this has been holding him back his entire life in his professional career. So yeah, what I'm saying here is this: when it comes to confidence, lean forwards or take a step forwards. Increase that volume, chest out, chin up. Move a little bit slower, not quick and jerky. And have a good stance between your feet, almost like shoulder wide. And don't sway back and forth. Do those things, and you will signal to your very primal brain that you got this. And that will then signal to your more mature part of your brain, and which translates this to, yeah, we've got this.
Is this a case of the chicken and the egg, where the mind starts to send signals to the body, and the body starts to jerk or crunch, or it lowers the voice? And is it a case of that you need to gain awareness of what's happening in the moment, and that way change your physiology?
Yeah.
Or which way do you go?
Both. Yeah,
both.
Yeah. So if you're stressed on stage, you can either start internalizing things, like thinking more brave thoughts, refocusing in your mind. That's one way. Or the second one is to use your body to reduce this tension in you. Like, there's a super simple hack which you can do, and it goes like this: that if you're on stage or you're delivering a presentation, or you start to feel nervous, even if you're on a date or something like that, you will notice that your eyes are very still and very focused, or they're very jerky, very quick jerks. You know, you look left, right, up, down, left, right, up, down, or something like that. And if the only thing you do is you stop and you allow your eyes, and you can try this immediately, Morgan, you allow your eyes to just look at your peripheral view. You still look ahead, but you allow your right eye to look as far right as possible, your left eye to look as far left in your peripheral view as possible. And you allow your eyes to do that, and you will immediately feel a sense of calmness in your head.
That was quick.
Yeah.
I felt the calmness real quick.
Yeah, it's turbocharged.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even notice that I was tense, but I felt like something just melted in me.
It's crazy powerful. Yeah, so that's a cool trick to use on stage.
Have you struggled with low self-confidence when it comes to social situation, like meeting girls?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it weird. I don't think it's natural not having that. It's. I think it's more normal that is your behavior than the opposite.
How so?
I think it's more normal to be self-reflective to such a state that you're kind of like, am I enough? Am I good enough? Who's this person? Because if you don't have those thoughts, you literally believe that you are the best at everything and that no one can impact you. I think, I don't know, that kind of personality is usually I think to some extent I'd say that there are probably exceptions to this, but I say a personality that is not affected by other people's input, either critical or positive, or they literally believe that they are the best there is at everything they do. I think that's kind of almost like a bit of a psychopathic trait, I think you lose humbleness when you feel those things. So yeah, and I think humbleness is one of the most powerful things when it comes to being anyone. If you're a presenter or you're a leader or whatever, being humble is a true treasure when it comes to that human connection.
I love that you shared this thought because I've been thinking about it a lot, and I see so many high-profile influencers, especially within business from the States, having this mantra of "don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks about you." And this talks a little bit about that psychopathic trait, maybe. So, what is it that they're actually saying? Is that you should just not let fear rule your life, or what's your thoughts about that? Because you've heard it too, I suppose.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I think it's very harsh, to say that I don't give a fuck what other people think. Just imagine being together with a person like that. Imagine being that being your partner.
Yeah.
God damn it! You'd leave that. That's a massive red flag, man. And they promote this mentality. I guess what they're trying to say, what they're doing is, of course, they are selling on a pain point, right? And people feel that they cannot accomplish what they want to accomplish because they're afraid of failure, just as you said. And having someone giving you the mantra of not giving a fuck can make you feel strong and powerful. I think the opposite would probably be the best, and that is to learn to love everyone. Because in that sensation of love, there's no fear. When you see people as beautiful beings around you, instead of seeing them as competition or seeing them as something that can cause you pain or fear, well, obviously, as long as you feel that, they will be a threat. But when you learn to love everyone and everything around you, my God, I have such a great example of this. I went down to Switzerland, of all places, and I was invited to an evening with some of the richest people in Switzerland. God knows why I was invited, but but these guys and girls, women, were, wherever I went, whoever I stood and spoke with, it was a constant dick measuring contest where they were like, my yacht is this long. Well, we were, in the Bahamas on this vacation, yada, yada. Oh, we just bought a submarine for our yacht. Do you have a submarine? No, you don't have one? You should get one.
Yeah.
We have two, actually. It was such a crazy dialogue. And And some of them had really figured out how to win this dialogue because they said, like, I bought a Monet, you know, the Monet, I bought that last week. And that's the only Monet you can actually own, you know. So that was kind of, you can't go higher.
Yeah.
Anyhow, all of these people are doing this. And that the reason they're doing this is obviously because they feel fear for what other people will think about them. So that's why they need to do this. Now, there was one guy who was just brilliant. He did this, and he was loved by everyone. Whoever I spoke to, they were like, have you met him? Have you met him? Have you met him? What he did is he walked around. He never said anything about himself. He was the most humble person at the party. He also knew a lot of people. And he just went up to you, Morgan, and he said, hey, Morgan, you need to meet Eric over here. He works with this. You work with this. You would make brilliant partnership between you two. Come, you know, and he just put you together. And he just initiated the conversation. And then he said, I'll leave you to it. And then he popped off. He was kind of a matchmaker. And nothing in it for him. He just loved connecting people like this. And you could see in his eyes that he truly loved people. That he cared that other people would become greater. So yeah, the counter hack to don't give a fuck is learn to love.
Learn to love. Yeah, I love that. And what's the worst tip or advice that you see floating around in the self-help space besides don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks about you? Can we have your top 3 worst advices that are floating around?
Yeah, I don't know if I can bring you 3, but one that gets me now and then is when I see these things where people say, yeah, 21 days to change a habit, 10,000 times to change a habit. Nobody knows, man. Nobody knows. And every single time you hear that, absolute blatant lie. And because they say this, people literally can believe that it would take 21 days. So imagine somebody believes that it takes 21 days. They go into this thing, they change a habit, and they're like, all right, 21 days countdown. Didn't work. All right, fuck it. I'll do something else. You know, I'll start smoking again or whatever. Imagine how many lives they've destroyed by giving them the promise that this is done in 21 days, which is a classical advice. The thing is this, that yes, neuroplasticity exists in your brain, which means that your brain can change behaviors. Yes. Does that change? Is that an individual trait? To some extent, yeah, absolutely. The younger you are, the more malleable your brain is, the more it's able to change quickly. So the younger you are, the easier this will be. The more often you've repeated this habit, the harder it will be to get rid of it. How much stress you are constantly feeling in your life will have an impact on your ability to change your habits. So imagine that there's, I think, at least 5 variables that affect your ability to change a habit. So that can very well be 21 days for some, but that's a randomly made up number. It could be 100 days for some. It could be 300 days for somebody. The important thing to remember when it comes to habits is that you can change them, period. And every single time you choose to change them, it'll make it easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. And as long as you don't stop, you will change that habit. Because that's the way the brain works. That's the advice that should be going around. But that doesn't sell in the same way. It's way cool. Like 21 days, come to my training. I will teach you. I will help you. Okay, so that's one of them. Do I have anything else that I want to bring up? I am very agitated by the fuck you mentality. I preach love, so I'll just add that as a second to get away with it. Third one. Good question. I guess it's the alpha kind of thing for men, right? I think I think, did you see the performance of, what's his name? Spider-Man. What's his name? Do you know his name?
You have several Spider-Man. Do you mean
Kind of the
the
latest,
newest
I think.
one? No, I don't know his name, but he's cute though.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is cute. I have to check him out. His name is Tom Holland, right?
Tom Holland. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And did you see his dance, Rihanna, when he did that
No,
dance?
no, didn't see it.
You haven't?
No, I had
Um,
to, I've missed
uh,
something.
you have to see this thing, right? Search for Tom Holland, search for Rihanna. So uh, Tom Holland, in this case, does a cover of Rihanna, Saturday Night Live, I think it is. And he is dressed in the most emasculate way you can just ever imagine. He behaves in what we would find to be non-alpha in every possible manner and matter. And then you read the comments on every YouTube video, every TikTok and every Instagram video ever posted about that thing. And you'll see the women there comment that this is the most masculine that any man can ever be, which is being proud and being comfortable with their own skin, whatever that is. Right? Check it out. You'll see what I mean. You'll fall in love with this thing. Yeah. That'll be my third one.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, because we're running out of time, is there something you would want to share that we haven't touched on, or a message for someone that want to get high on life?
Yeah. I think the trick is this, that when you read about cortisol, which is part of the stress process, chronic low-level cortisol is what we feel when we do something every single day that we don't enjoy. Literally, it pains us to do it. It's stressful to do it, but it's no high spikes. It's just constant grueling pain of cortisol. When that goes on for 3 to 4 months, it's defined as chronic. What happens when cortisol is chronic? Well, it means that you've literally been chased by a low-level lion for 4 months. Okay, so by now your system has started to become affected by this. Inflammation may have started to kick in due to this constant chronic stress. Now, the negative effects of this is that if you read about cortisol and the stress process, it can negatively affect almost all the signaling substances which are part of why you love life, enjoy life, which are dopamine, serotonin, even endorphins and oxytocin. It impacts even progesterone for women, for instance, and testosterone for men. So if you feel that life feels dull, grey, it could be just because you have too much stress in your life. And just by removing that stress, all of these neurosubstances come to life again, just automatically, because that's how life works. If you take a garden and you shower it with rain, you have a garden and rain comes down for 6 months, it's going to destroy the garden. It's going to look horrid. I want you to imagine that being your brain, right? There's no fun. There's no color. However, as soon as it stops raining and the rain comes down now and then, but the sun is out as well, within a month, 2, 3, the garden will come back to life, because that is the definition of life. It will come back to life. And the same thing goes for your brain. When you stop the rain, when you reduce the stress, your brain will start to light up again. And all of those flowers in your brain, you'll get this garden growing again. So my advice for anyone, anywhere, irrespective of how you feel, sit down, make a list of everything that is stressful in your life. And then start reducing or removing those things. And you will notice that just by reducing 20% of them, you will feel that you suddenly go, ah. And if you can remain in that state for a month or 2, you'll start to see color in a different way. So that'd be my super hack. Yeah.
I love that. I'm gonna do that list. I've never done a list like that where I list down all the stresses, but I think it's a good idea to just like be a little bit clearer and get another view of what's actually going on in life. And I want to thank you so much for the time and all the inspiration that you're putting out on social media. The book, I can highly, highly, highly recommend it. A lot of good stuff in this book. So
Thank you.
highly recommend that. And where can people find you if they want to connect?
Instagram is cool, man. David JP Phillips. So hook me up there. I usually answer at least majority of my DMs, or LinkedIn. Yeah, works fine.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David.
Take care, man.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Thanks for the call. Cheers.
Thanks.